Welcome to AIRwaves. My name is Andrew Ochal from Arlene's Artist Materials. Today we're going to do a special episode dealing with mentorship. We're going to explore the benefits, what it can offer. Joining me today are Maria DeAngelo, Carolyn DiFiori Hopkins, and Mary Kay Weeks. We're all instructors in our atelier at Arlene's program, but they're also mentors in our newly launched one-on-one mentorship program at Arlene's. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
We're going to jump right into it, starting off talking about past experiences with mentorships. Can anybody tell me about previous experience, like they have a significant mentor in their life, how they met them?
I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
So I would say it depends on which stage of life you're in. You know, you meet different people come in and out of your lives kind of when you need them.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I would say that my painting and printmaking professors, Mary Lum and Ted Morgan, were two really big influences on me as an artist, but also as developing as, you know, you're in your 20s and you're trying to figure things out. And so it was also kind of a lot of social and emotional stuff too, because it's, you know, you trying to figure out who you are as an artist, who you are as a person. And I think those two for me helped me to figure out, you know, what I'd have to do as a daily practice and how to talk about my work, how to talk, not speak about my work, but speak about my work so that there was connection and meaningful relationships built through the work. And I think as you move through your life, you find different people who not only you mentor, but who step up and are an excellent example for you of kind of where you want to be and what you want to do. And I saw those two as independent artists who were also teaching artists. And for me, that was very inspiring because I knew I wanted to teach, but I also knew I didn't want my practice to fall by the wayside as I lifted up other people's practice. So I'd say that was one of my major experiences early on.
Well, I pondered this question before we came together today, and it was a trip down memory lane for me. And I realized like you said, Maria, at every stage of my art making, there seemed to be people who came in, whether it's through my outreach by taking a class or just connections within the community that really helped move my work along. And I think the role of a mentor is invaluable, particularly as visual artists when you're working mainly in isolation. You know, having a connection with someone who can point you in a new way or, you know, give suggestions or give emotional support. I think it's just a primo thing to have.
Yeah, I concur with everything that's been said. I certainly have had very significant people in my life, whether they came through in my education or outside of that. And I studied with some really great people in Philadelphia in the 70s, Jane Piper, Harry Sobiak, Bill Daly, Sharon Church, and the list goes on. All of those people are gone now, but they left an indelible impression upon me. And I refer to them and kind of call on them still in my current practice. When you have just maybe one or two or three significant people like that, they really can shape who you are as an artist in a different way than if you were participating in a classroom setting.
Sure.
Speaking that you call on them in your work, any particular type of advice or like any type of like nugget of wisdom that they shared with you that you would like to share with everybody else, or like that specifically kind of sticks out?
Yeah, I mean, it can be little things like don't forget to step back from your work. You know, that was a big thing with Jane Piper. You know, she would talk about that. And, you know, when you're in an art school setting, it's very different than when you're in a community classroom setting. It's less step by step, and it's more you're there to develop your own techniques. And so their wisdom comes in through critique. So I had a heavily based practice on critique as a student. And so you paint it, and then you would have a critique. It was very rare that anybody demonstrated anything, for example. And I think that that's really what mentorship is about. It's not guiding you step by step. And, maybe you would share some techniques at some point, but it's more about supporting that person and helping them find a direction that they want to go in, and pulling out their strengths and weaknesses at the same time. And I often think about them. I think, what would Harry do? It's like, how would they approach this particular problem that I'm having with the work? And they're there. They make up your being, and they never go away. And as a teacher myself, my objective is to pass along the way that I learned, and which was the way that they learned, and to continue that teacher-student relationship in that way. So that's kind of my approach, is that, I'm sharing information, and it's information that was instilled in me, that was instilled in them. So it's a heritage more than anything else.
Now, the part about that critique, about putting yourself out there and having that person who has more experience or just different experiences, varied experiences from yours, and being open to hearing them, but also learning to stand up for yourself and your work, and saying, well, maybe this is more what I meant, and that's a big learning.
Yeah, it does teach you how to defend your work, and also how to talk about it beyond words like "I like it" or
right.
I think this is good. You have to get, both as a student and as a teacher and mentor, you have to get beyond those little catchphrases, because if you say to somebody, "I like it," that doesn't mean anything. You have to get very specific. And that's what a one-on-one relationship really, really helps with. It's much more in depth, and it's more about them working independently and us looking at, for me, of looking at the work and helping them and being honest about it, right? And helping them to kind of walk through a painting or a drawing or a piece of sculpture in a different way.
I think students come at all different levels too, and it's also finding that blend of, where is that person at? Are they really at a point where they want to take a certain body of work and move on to the next step of creating a show? Or are they in those beginning stages where they're trying to figure out what is their voice and what do they even want to do with this material? We have to meet them there.
Yeah. And I think experimentation is really important, and that you have to, I am experimenting all the time, and I've been painting for many, many years. So, and not to be afraid of that, not to be afraid to make mistakes, not to be afraid to throw something away and move on from that, and to also gain confidence in what you're doing, and with some support. And I think you need that support from a significant person in order to be able to really kind of move forward with your confidence level in the work. And also, when you're working with somebody closely, they see things in it that you don't see, So that, and then you go back to stepping away from something to look at it. And sometimes stepping away with another person who's guiding you, who's acting as your guide, is really very powerful.
What do you think, Mary Kay?
I just have my favorite piece of advice to share that I got from a mentor, and this was Jim Giampaoli. He's a painter, but I was taking lithography from him, and my favorite piece of advice from him, and he is my shortest term mentor, by the way, just for a couple months, was he would say every day, you just show up.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've used that with students over and over again.
Yep.
It's like you show up, you start doing something, even if it's really frustrating and you have no clue where you're going, and
Mhm.
something invariably happens from that, that either takes you to the next step or throws you backwards somehow, so you have to start again. But just showing up to the work instead of conceptualizing it all the time verbally in your head.
Yeah.
It's just an active practice, is showing up and doing it with your body. So that's
Definitely.
served me well.
Yeah, just making a mark on a piece of paper or on
Yeah.
a canvas is the
Yeah.
first step. And once you get there, then maybe it doesn't become easier, but at least you've approached it. And I hear this from students all of the time, that one of the reasons that they make sure to sign up for a class is because it forces them to
do
show
it.
up.
Show
Yeah.
up.
They make a commitment, and that really helps them with the structure that you need and the discipline, because I'm not all over the, I make certain times where I'm working on specific things of my own, for my own practice. And that takes sometimes you have to ease people in that they have to make a commitment. They have to make a commitment to the space that they're working in. They have to create a space. And if they have a passion and they want to learn, it's not immediate. It takes time, and patience and guidance. So I like that, Mary, a lot.
Yeah.
That was
It's a
good information.
simple mantra, but that's the primo thing you have to do. It just doesn't happen on its own, right?
Yeah.
Because people have
Sometimes I wish it did.
ideas, a lot of ideas. Yeah, we all wish it did. Like wave
Just
your magic
flow.
wand and things happen on the canvas. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of opposed when people say, oh, talent is inborn. It's really not. You work at it. That's why it's called the practice of art, because we have to practice forever. It's not something that you get to a point where you stop learning, which is kind of the beauty in it,
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That it's
Yeah.
called artwork. It's not, it's
Mhm.
work. You have to put the effort and the energy and the time and the
Yes.
effort into creating it and evolving it and moving it. And it's great advice, Mary Kay, where it's
Yeah.
put the mark on the page and it doesn't matter what it is. It's just coming up, creating that pattern.
Exactly.
that-
And don't judge it. Just go
Invisible.
with wherever you're at in the moment.
And it's snowball. It'll then become easier and easier every time you do it. And you become, before you know it, you'll just become habitual.
Right. It's how you develop skill, right?
Exactly.
And again, it's not like a magical spell.
No, and it like Carolyn says, it's a practice. It is an
Yes.
ongoing thing. It is not, there's no end point. It is an ongoing thing that will always need attention and need evolution and need work.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's not all wine and roses at all. It's but when you have those moments where everything kind of comes together, it's wonderful. But you can't expect that all of the time. You have to sometimes work through some real tragedies on a canvas or something, and you have to give yourself permission to make those mistakes. It's okay to fail at something, and then but you have to have the stick-to-itiveness to go back and again go back and just keep at it, and eventually you'll work some things out and it will be good. We hope.
I think part of what a mentor can do is share how they do it for themselves, but also help you figure out, do I need a really quiet space? Do I need a really active space? And help you find that in your life too. They're a model, but they also can, like, if you're showing up every day, something's going to happen. but you need to be ready to make that commitment. And not everybody is ready to tell themselves that. Sometimes they need someone else to say, hey, try this for a week, or try, you know, it's modeling, but it's also, helping that person figure out where they are in their headspace and in their physical space in order to create.
I would say, building on that point, Maria,
Mhm.
what advice would you give somebody who is looking for a mentor, or is possibly like thinking about whether or not the mentorship program or mentorship is for them?
Well, I think the first thing you need to figure out is, what do you want to gain from this? If you want to gain, learning more about some material and something within your practice and moving that further, then you maybe need to look around and say, well, who works in that medium that I really love what they're doing? If your goal is, I want to get ready to take all this work I have and create a show, then you need to find a mentor, who's had a show or hang shows, or, and you also need to ask yourself, what is your commitment? Because being a mentee is also a commitment. It's how much of my life do I want to say, these are the things, because it's not just the time you meet with someone, it's what you do outside of the time that you meet with someone that's going to make that worthwhile for you. So I think.
Good point, Maria. Really well taken point. Because it's a dialogue, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It can't be one-sided.
Right. It's two-sided.
It's a relationship.
Mm.
Yeah. And that needs to be founded in respect and openness, right? So you need to choose who you're going to connect but also who. Like for us, we gravitate towards people who, they may not be the person who tells you all the time, oh, that's wonderful. Well, that doesn't always get me, it's not going to feed making what I do better. I need to say, well, what do you honestly see here? So we can talk about it. For me. What do you guys think?
I think my most successful mentor relationships have been with people who seem to be able to see in front of me. They can predict my path of where this work can go. It's almost like they have another sense of my work and can point me in new options or directions before I'm even thinking of that.
Yeah.
And again, it's about that relationship. I also think it's important to find someone who's working a level above you, at least someone whose work you really admire, because that's what it's all about. It's like bringing you along to the next level and the evolution of your work. So I think those are the people that have been invaluable to me, who can, point a new way before I'm even aware of it.
Yeah, I think that the person who's deciding to go into a mentorship program is kind of on a precipice. They could go one way or the other, and they're looking to further explore and to really hone in on their own particular style of working, whatever that may be, and they need some support to make that happen. So I think it's really not for a very beginning student, but somebody who's had some experience and now wants to take it a step further and is committed to their artistic work and wants to develop a practice. It's very independent. For me, the way I view it is, it's a very independent approach, where the mentor's guiding you, right? They're looking at the work, they're evaluating it, and giving you cues on how you can work over the course of the next week or 2 weeks. And then we bring that work back, and then we're reviewing that, and then we keep going step by step forward. But they have to be self-motivated. they have to be willing to put the time in, and in an appropriate way, and know that it's going to have its ups and downs, and that they want to connect on a one-on-one basis with another artist who can be their art guide, through and get them through to kind of another dimension of where they want to be with the work. And so it's, I think it's very exciting, and it's a great opportunity, especially because I have a lot of students who return to making art after decades of working in a job that maybe they didn't particularly like, or they had a life event and they're changing things up a little bit, and they don't want to go back to a university. They want to do something different. And this gives them the opportunity to work with professional artists on a one-to-one basis. And I think that that's always really valuable. I mean, I still have people that I can call up and say, hey, can you come and do a studio visit? Can you look at this work? Can I send you something? And they'll give me a real honest assessment. It's not couched in, pleasantries to try to appease people. It's honest. And I think that some people are at that stage where they need that honesty in order to move forward with the work. And it's fun too. It can be a lot of fun.
It's what you put in. It's what you are willing to, push and experience.
Yeah, if you're not willing to put the work in, or put the time in, or show up for your sessions, then it's not for you. And it does require, it's like a kind of like a self-study kind of thing, where you need to go and do this work, and then appear, with it, and actually put the time in to it. And that means a lot. That will change everything for people, and you put the time in, and then eventually, things start to sink in.
Yeah. And it's exciting because, you're going to be able to see growth. I mean, that growth takes falling back down and getting back up. And, there's a lot that it's involved, but you'll be able to say, I want to reach for this goal, and this person's going to help me along this way. They're here because they want to help, and they want to share what they do. It's very social as much as it is, art driven. We need connection.
We do, and it can include, doing museum visits, and meeting with other artists, and seeing how other people work, and getting, a spark of an idea, that they can apply to what they're doing. And I think that I've been on both sides of the coin, and I find it invaluable to have people that you can rely on, and that you can, use for source material, and ask questions. And it's, it's on a very personal level too. It's not in a classroom with 10 or 15 other people. So.
Seeing how we're starting this mentorship program, and that we've, like you said, Carolyn, you've had experience on both sides of the coin. As a mentor, do you think the most rewarding part of being a mentor to a mentee?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. What's the most important? For me, the most important part is when they feel success, when the student feels like, oh, I'm getting it. I understand. I know why I had to go through all of that to get to this point. Now it makes sense. Those kinds of comments, and how it can change people's lives, which that is an amazing thing to be a part of, and in not just their art worlds, but in their persona and their level of confidence. And so I think that I've gotten really excited when I can see somebody who's developing and they're building their confidence and they're feeling better about things, like whatever in their life, they're feeling better about it, because creativity is, for some of us, it's necessary. We must have it. We've always had it. It was a place to go that was safe. And I think that still is why people sometimes take classes and get involved in the arts. It's release, of emotions, or can be. It's elevating your learning. And all of those things can be a positive force in somebody's life. So that's when students come to me, and I had a student, for example, I had said something to her and she emailed me and she said, that made me cry. And it was in a good way, and that to me is what it's all about. It's more about helping people and assisting people and showing them that they too can have a creative life and what that means and how to approach that. That's almost more important to me than any art that's being made. It's about those connections and people finding themselves. Maybe that sounds cliche, but you can do it at 60 or 70 or 20, or, it's art is for everybody. And you can come to it at any stage in your life. And if you put the time in and you come to the classes and you listen and you make connections, like a lot of my people are, have made connections, and they've become friends. And so it's become kind of, for me, it's become a community. And, I think that's what Arlene's does really well. It's your community builders, and you give people this great space to come in and be able to learn. And the advantage is too, you've got the store. So as instructors, we can help people with their supplies, and it just all works. And with all of the staff being artists, it's an incredibly creative place. And I've been with this program for how long, Andrew? 5 years, maybe?
Well, 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, and I've watched it build. That's the exciting thing. And I've seen, the students, just building the student body, and then the repeat students. And that, to me, when I get students who've been taking classes with me for 5 years, that's really exciting. And that means I'm doing something for them. And the place is doing something for them. And, we all went through COVID and had to figure out Zoom and that whole thing. And now we're back to in-person classes. And it's been quite a roller coaster ride, I have to say. It really has been. But we got through it. And here we are. And we're still expanding with a mentor program. I think it's really exciting.
Life is definitely a roller coaster ride for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have anything to share? What's their what's the most rewarding part of being a mentor to them? Maria?
I think Caroline she summed it up really, really well. It's helping someone to find themselves through their art, and to find that creativity is this really positive part of being. It's something we need, and yet it may not always be something that people can find in their life without somebody guiding them a little bit. It's as if a lot of people have been told that's not for you. It's for a select few. And that's just not true. It's a very basic part of who we are, the need to make things and express ourselves and make music. And so I think, Caroline said really well, it's that celebrating their successes, seeing them make those discoveries, and find that creativity is a really important and healing part of their life.
Oh, I have a comment about healing. I'm glad you used that word, Maria. So I've found that there are a lot of people who've had some really harsh judgment
Oh, yeah.
on their work and are very traumatized
Yeah.
and afraid, you know, to pick up a pencil or a paintbrush or a piece of clay again. And I think to help people feel joy again about creating and help them realize how much they're evolving, even in terms of a personal presence in the world. Because we know that confidence in art making spills over into other parts of your life, as Carolyn explained too. So I think that's been a really rewarding thing for me to get people back on board with not judging themselves and what they make and just feeling the joy of just open expression, even if not just in the visual arts, but in any form of expression and dance and athletics. You know, there's been a lot of damage to people being judged. And I think our job is to open up that expression again.
Yeah, definitely. Part of learning is sometimes unlearning bad habits,
Yes,
bad things.
yes,
And
yes.
also like touching upon that, it's like we talked about earlier, it's like the positive benefit of critique versus having like negativity and things brought to you that doesn't actually mean anything or doesn't really actually benefit you at all.
Mm.
So, yeah. Right. Well, I just want to say thank you for everybody for all your insights today and bringing your wisdom and thoughts to this topic. I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Does anybody have anything to say before we go?
Go
Thank
for it. Sign up.
you. Thank
Exactly.
you.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
sign up. We're here.
I know.
We're waiting. I mean, you know, so you try it and see if you like it and like us, and then you can move forward from there, or you can continue. It's open, you know.
It's definitely investment in you, and there's no like you've been saying, it's like the more effort you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. But this is the kind of program that it's set up that like it's for them to succeed 100%. There's no failure. It's a guided experience to get them to where they want to go, and if they put the effort into it, they definitely will get there. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Maria DeAngelo. I want to thank Mary Kay Weeks and Carolyn DiFiori Hopkins for joining us today. I also would love to hear from the listeners. I want to hear about your experiences with mentors or your thoughts on mentorship and things like that. Please comment below. Thank you very much for joining us on this very special episode of AIRwaves, and we will be back next month. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.